Today we'll be doing a commentary on Quentin Tarantino's use of music and framing in his films, specifically Reservoir Dogs. Convenient timing. We'll be looking at a couple scenes and the introduction in which music is offered as kind of a background of information and how it's juxtaposed next to scenes that wouldn't usually go with that kind of music. That introduction scene, well, not the very first introduction, the very first scene was them all sitting in a diner discussing films and tipping. That introduction into the opening scene of the credits features the introduction of a song on the radio, which kind of gives the idea that while we're introducing this film, we're introducing music, and they're going to be coinciding a lot throughout the film. It's also good to note that this music matched up relatively well with the scene as it went on. It's kind of important to note here that the film is introduced almost at the end, and then it goes on to tell the story of how that scene, of how they got to the position that they're in. So we'll give a little introduction that kind of gives the pretty much the end. Here in this scene is a stark contrast between the upbeat music that was playing as the characters were introduced and this pretty horrific scene of where there is no sound outside of the diegetic sound. There's no music playing in the background. There's not even music coming from the radio, even though they are driving, and that's generally something that would be happening, as you'll see in later scenes, as you would see in later scenes. So it's here the lack of music is used to kind of illustrate the severity of the situation and allow the characters to develop the situation as they see fit without interruption based on like techniques outside of their dialogue. The scene we're about to see is going to just give an example of how they're going to start retelling the story from the beginning and give the background to understand how they got to the position that they're in. Now in this scene, we'll evaluate the framing and how that is used to kind of illustrate the divide that has come between the the individuals in the job. In the opening scene, they were all sitting together at a diner, all very close, kind of represented or illustrated character development in that they were all friends, they were all about to do a job together, and now this shot is framed in a way that suggests that that has changed. So up until that time, you note that the shots themselves are either medium close-up or close-ups of each individual, but they never are shown in the same frame, and then when they are, they're very far apart. It's showing their reactions as individuals to what they're saying, but also their differences as people, and how they've kind of, their actions in the previous scenes have created a divide in their relationship. As they start agreeing on the job and their purpose and what they were there for, the frame allows them to, the frame and the acting, they bring them together. So now that they are discussing, like I said, the similarities in their views of what happened, they're closer together, but they're still not as close as they were in the opening scene, illustrating that they are in agreement, but there's still a divide after what has happened. Alright, now we're gonna kind of introduce the use of music in situations that are not super appropriate to the kind of music that they're going to be using. So what that does is enhance the it kind of enhances the the overall theme of a lot of Tarantino's films, which is kind of a satire on excessively violent action movies and things that kind of desensitize us to really horrible things, really gruesome and grotesque scenes in films. That's a cop, by the way. That is an officer that was captured and then put in the trunk, and now they're going to kick the crap out of him to the backdrop of some sweet jams.
Hey dear, I'm ready to get going. It's called Sacred Marriage. Here, why don't you come say hi? All right, well, it was called Sacred Marriage, and what it really is about is what's it about? It's on marriage. I always love the metaphor. If anybody can think, oh, either doesn't know that. I know. Yeah.
Also here, it's good to note that the shots have been kind of um, it's the shot of the violence and the music playing, and then also the shot of one of the characters explaining what's going on, kind of the severity of the situation. So that having those shots juxtaposed and still like proceed linearly kind of explains the situation, giving us like keeps the audience grounded in what's happening, but then also is just outrageously violent. And we'll finish up real quick with one of the most famous scenes. Here, he's about to literally put on the music himself and then proceed with extreme violence. Alright, so that acting, framing, music, use of music and sound all illustrates the character's tendencies of being a sociopath. And that's that.